What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 52 of Nostalgia Mania. You heard that right, episode 52, 1 year.
This is it.
This is the 1 year anniversary episode. Brian, do you got any cupcakes or cake or something sweet?
I do not,
celebrate?
but I do have these beautiful little they're like the Girl Scout cookies I bought actually at Aldi.
There you go.
But they are just like Girl Scout cookies and they are delicious.
I love it.
No cupcakes or cake today. I was a little busy, so.
Yep. No, I hear you.
You never know. Maybe next week.
Maybe next week. At any point in time, we can bust out the sweets. We're no stranger to sweets. Appreciate Alyssa for joining in over on Twitch.
Nope.
Go ahead, Brian.
I am always eating something.
Oh yeah. I don't miss very many meals. That's for sure.
I try not to.
Yeah. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in for this milestone episode as we celebrate 1 year of Nostalgia Mania. Technically, by date, it was last week, but by episode, it's this week, episode 52. And we're covering a movie you can see right below us here, Stephen King's It, the original, the OG, as they say, It, starring Tim Curry. And this is one of my favorite Halloween movies of all time. So I'm excited to jump into this.
Have you?
I am. Had before we jump into it, I mean, had you seen this movie prior to the rewatch?
Originally, yes. I watched it back in the early 90s, I believe, when it came out as the miniseries.
Yes, yeah, because it came out as a 2-part series, which we'll jump into that. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here, because I don't want to skip our new segment that we've been doing for the last few episodes, and that is the Vintage Report. So let's jump right into our first episode or our first segment of the show. Here we go. Nostalgia Mania, Vintage Report. What we like to do on this segment is go back to the month and the year that the movie was released and what was in the news, what was released, what was happening at that point in time. And we got a couple things we're going to cover today. And I don't know if you're privy to this story because I was not. So I do have the backstory, but do you have any idea what that main story is, that Chillicothe murder from 1990 of Kathy Robertson?
I'm sure I did, and I'm sure I know it, but right now it's just not ringing a bell. I know that name, and I've heard that name a lot, but I just don't remember it right off the top of my head.
You've probably heard it because this story hit mainstream media on a couple different occasions. I don't exactly remember, or I didn't write down what programs they were, but they were different, different shows that covered murders and different, things across the nation. This was one of them, and it was very prominent because this was a 42-year. I'm going to just cover it just briefly. I won't go too terribly in depth, but it's crazy. So Kathy Robertson was a 41-year-old mother of 5. She was shot and killed while her husband, Lindell, were sleeping in their home in Chillicothe. Lindell, the husband, he survived despite being shot 5 times. Crazy, first of all. The initial suspect that they had
Oh yeah.
thought of, Lindell said it was the oldest daughter's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. His name is Brandon. And they kind of focused on him for a while. And it wasn't until a little bit later, I'm going to bring the graphic down here, but it wasn't a little bit after that was they kind of shifted the investigation. Some months later, a private investigator was hired by the husband, and they started looking into a guy named Mark Woodworth, who was a 16-year-old, and he was the son of their farming partner. So basically what happened was Mark Woodworth was convicted twice for this crime and spent over 20 years in prison. And it was until 2014 that they brought up an appeal, and they looked over the evidence, and they found misconduct and irregularities in the ballistic evidence, and he was freed in 2014 and served over 20 years for a crime he did not commit. And that happened hour and a half north of us.
I'm sure I've heard that and seen those. Yeah.
So that photo there is of Mark Woodworth. You can see first where he on the left hand side is when he was arrested and put to jail, and on the right hand side is when he was released 20 years later. So crazy. So anyway, past that, what else was going on in November of 1990? And that's on the left-hand side. Mega Man 3 was released on November 1st of 1990. And we've covered Mega Man before on Nostalgia Mania, Mega Man X specifically, but did you play much Mega Man growing up?
I did not play. I played the original, and I played my game was always more Metroid. I liked Mega Man, played the original, and I think I played the third one, but not a ton. I mean, it was always fun, but you have to think back then there were so many games coming out. Yeah,
and on so many systems, and a lot of competition for different video game consoles. Did you play Super Metroid? I'm assuming that's the one you're talking about.
Yep, Metroid and Super Metroid. Yep.
Yeah, because Super Metroid I know is one of the, like, if you look at online at favorite best games, that's always atop of the list. Is Super Metroid. Love Mega Man. Appreciate Alyssa. One of my all-time favorites for sure.
Yep.
So, and then last but not least, before we jump in, Clash of the Champions happened this year in this month, November. WCW World Championship Wrestling. You saw Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, taking on Butch Reed, Hacksaw Butch Reed, actually, in a singles match for the World Heavyweight Championship. What'd you think of old Butch Reed back in the day?
I liked Hacksaw better. I wasn't a fan of the name change.
Yeah. He I don't know when that name change actually happened, but yeah, he used to be called just Hacksaw. He went Hacksaw Butch Reed, and then it just went just to Butch Reed. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know who had. I'm assuming Hacksaw Butch Reed was around, like the name Hacksaw. He had the name Hacksaw before Jim Duggan. I'm assuming. I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
I think so.
Yeah, because Duggan was fairly new in the early '80s or late '80s, I guess. So, all right, there you have it.
One of those gimmicks, I think. I think Vince just wanted to pass that along to the next wrestler.
He did that a lot. If you look back at the old school books from 1960s through the 80s, a lot of the same, like the Nature Boy, Hacksaw, all those different monikers that they had before the name. A lot of people had that. Or had the same name.
Yep.
So, all right. So we're ready for this. Before we jump in, though, as always, Our favorite segment of every single week is we've got the Retro Recast, and we're going to do that at the end of the show after we get done covering this. So for those of you who are watching now, get your picks in the chat. We're going to show them at the end. If you were to recast the 1990s version of Stephen King's It, who would you recast as Pennywise? And we're also looking for a adult and kid version of Bill and Beverly. So get your picks in the chat. We will cover that here toward the end in about 30 or so minutes, depending on how long our episode goes. But it's going to be a fun one, to say the least, man. This movie was already remade once, so we're going to remake it a second time with a completely fresh cast. So it's going to be fun. It'll be fun. And for those of you watching now, for this week, as you can see, we're covering Stephen King's It. Next week, October 22nd, we're going to jump into Beetlejuice. And to close out October, the spooky season, just before Halloween, a couple days before Halloween, we're jumping into the Halloween classic of WCW Halloween Havoc. This one from 1997, Age in a Cage, Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper. We're also going to see Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero. So, you ready for this, Brian? Ready to jump into it?
That's the reason we're watching. I'm ready.
All right. Brian J., what the heck is Stephen King's It all about?
You would have to put me under the bus. It's a very long explanation. I'm going to try to make it short. So It's a bunch of kids. Kids start being murdered and in the town of Derry. Bill's little brother was murdered. He was out playing in the rain, and Pennywise is in the sewer and says, "Come on," and tempts him into the sewer to kill him. And like the kids did something, they thought they got rid of it, forgetting about him. Years later, the murders start happening again, and that's what the opening scene is. They start happening again. The group has to get back together to find a way to defeat this monster once and for all.
Yeah, and it's there's plenty of scenes, and we're going to get to that as a child scared me. And even today, there's one specific one that still is super creepy that I'm going to bring up. But this movie was, I say movie, it was a miniseries, right? I mean, it was right. Released in 2 parts in 2 different nights. It never once hit the theaters. This was a home release, so it did not have a theatrical box office as we normally do on the show. But really, the reason this movie came to be was obviously the success of Stephen King and his novels and stuff like that. But there was a movie known as Salem's Lot. It was made back in 1979. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one, but it had a lot of success. And you are familiar with it. See, I was not. I had not seen Salem's Lot, but it had a lot of success. And the miniseries was Tommy Lee Wallace, who was known for Halloween 3, basically said, you know what, I want to bring one of Stephen King's novels to life. And it was greenlit. And Stephen King's It was greenlit for a movie. It was actually greenlit for a miniseries specifically. And the original idea for this, I'm not sure if you knew, was for an 8 to 10 episode miniseries. That's what originally it was going to be. And the story was going to be much longer. It was going to be a lot gorier. There was going to be it wasn't going to be rated PG or TV-13. It was going to be rated R. However, it got cut down and cut down and cut down, and they got cut to 2 episodes, 3 hours total. So it's basically just a movie, a little bit, a kind of a long movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the budget was the main
very
reason.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, they had budgetary issues, limitations, stuff like that, and that's kind of the sole reason why it kind of got cut down. Which sucks because imagine that movie with Tim Curry and everybody in it in a rated R setting. That movie would have been way scarier than it was. So
would have been, yes.
Fun fact. Speaking of Tim Curry. Sorry, we're getting a little bit of overlap. We're talking over each other a little bit, but Tim Curry spent 3 hours per day in the makeup chair to get set up as Pennywise.
Jeez.
Can you imagine that?
Crazy.
Going to work every day and sitting in a chair for 3 hours before you can even start working?
Nope. No thanks. But I was going to say, when you picked this, I immediately thought, how dark is Josh's heart? Because this is a twisted movie.
Very. It's very twisted.
Very twisted. And it kind of shocked me that this is my favorite one. And I get it, but I was like, just knowing you, I would never have thought.
Yeah, I love this movie, man. This was one of my favorites growing up as a Halloween movie. I should say, love the comedy, right. love the goofy stuff. I mean, we're doing Beetlejuice next week, so that's and we did Hocus Pocus last week. That's not anywhere near what we're covering tonight, but
no.
But yeah, so we talked about budget. It had $12 to $15 million budget. And it drew about 30 million viewers on both nights, and it was aired on ABC. So pretty good airing. I mean, it was the most watched television show in 1990.
Yeah.
Nothing beat it. In the entire year, that was the most watched television show in the entire year.
That's crazy.
Did pretty well. And similar to Hocus Pocus, even though Hocus Pocus had a theatrical release, it became very popular and kind of a cult classic because of the replays and the VHS and the DVDs, way later DVDs. Yeah. So, but man, this is what do you remember? Like, do you remember the first time you sat down and watched the full miniseries?
Yeah, I was one of the 30 million watching it on TV, and I mean the big thing that gets me is Georgie in the boat. You know, that's the scene that when I think of it, seeing Pennywise in the gutter, that's what I think of when I see it.
Yep. It's definitely synonymous. It's every movie kind of has that one picture or scene or slogan or something that will immediately take everybody, no matter if you've ever seen it before, you know what it's from. And that Pennywise popping up from the drain with the red balloon or his boat, whichever one. And then saying, "Hey, Georgie," they all float. They all float down here. But man, so this movie had a lot of cast, a lot of well-known actors. We've already talked about them already. You had Tim Curry, one of our favorites, playing the ever so lovely clown Pennywise. Was he hard to I mean, knowing what Tim Curry does, was he hard to take seriously in a movie like this, do you think?
I don't think so. I just think, yes, I was used to seeing him in different roles, but like he had always played like the comedy actor, but I always like to see people, show their craft and do different things. So
yeah,
that's why when I recast, I like to try to recast different than than most would go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you'd seen him mostly in comedies, but yeah, I thought it was really good.
I do too. I think he absolutely nailed it. Did phenomenal. And there was another behind the scenes tidbit that I had that he, similar to what we did on the Goonies, where they kept the children from seeing the boat scene, until the very end, till they filmed it live. He would stay away from the children as much as possible until it was time to say action. So he would strike more fear into the kids, so they get more of a natural reaction out of them for the scene. So, but
Yep, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we had Tim Curry. You had Richard Thomas played the adult Bill. We're going to recast him. One of my favorite all-time actors, John Ritter, played Ben Hanscom, the adult Ben. But love John Ritter, man. Three's Company.
Me too.
I mean, love John Ritter, man. He died way too soon.
Yep.
Taken way too early. Him and Robin Williams are kind of like same level to me. Like, and also there's a John Candy is another one. Have you? Yes. By the way, speaking of John Candy, have you seen the documentary?
I have not.
I need to watch that. I've heard it's really good.
Yes, so do we.
Yeah, that's something I'm gonna do this weekend.
Yep, Chris Farley, same thing.
Yeah, Chris Farley is another one, man. Gone way too soon. Yep. So
Mitch we could go on and on.
Yeah, John Ritter actually had been wanting and almost pleading that to get into a Stephen King iteration, any movie of Stephen King. So he's been really, really wanting it, and this was the first opportunity for him. I think he did phenomenal, honestly. So, Harry Anderson as the adult Richie. Sorry, Brian, we're talking over each other.
Really quick about John Ritter. Really quick.
Yeah.
What he died of was an aortic dissection, which is where your aorta tears away from your heart.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a death sentence, right? That is what happened with Evangelistico.
Oh, I did not.
They were able to get him into surgery, and it's like a 6-hour surgery, 8-hour surgery. So
I did not know that.
Yep, you can survive that, but he was not. His was so bad they couldn't get him into surgery. But sorry about that.
No, that's no, you're good.
Nope.
So Harry Anderson was the adult Richie, Beep Richie. Annette O'Toole, another well-known actress. Mm-hmm. She was the adult Beverly Marsh. And then you had Dennis Christopher, Eddie Kasprak. And then kind of rounding out, going to the young actors, you had Jonathan Brandis, who also gone way too soon. He was the young Bill. And then one that's very hard to recognize at this point was a very, very, very young Seth Green. Played the young Ricky Tozer. So crazy. Knowing what Seth Green, I don't think I realized it was Seth Green watching it like as a young child, because obviously I didn't know much about Seth Green at that time. But knowing him now from everything he's done since then, it's definitely Seth Green. So.
Yep, not something you would think. Oh, yeah, there he is.
Yeah. Sorry, you cut out just a little bit, but we've got. Did you have anything I wanted to ask before we jump into the story summary? Did you have any sort of group of friends or a club or something where you like named yourself as the group, kind of like they did here in the movie called with the Losers Club?
I don't think we named ourselves, but we had a group in our neighborhood.
Yeah. Did you guys get into any trouble?
Yeah, there's about 7 of us. No, not really. I mean, we little bit, just not like we got yelled at because we lived around a bunch of car lots, and we'd always ride our bikes in the car lots, and they, oh, get out of here! You're gonna scratch all our cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not really too much trouble.
It's funny you said there's 7 of you, so you had lucky number 7, which is just like they said in the movie.
Well, we weren't always together, and there were 7 kids in the neighborhood. Now 3 were 2 brothers and a sister, and the sister didn't always hang out with us, and the little brother didn't always hang out with us. So, I mean,
Okay.
5 regularly.
5 regular.
4
okay.
or 5. 4 or 5 always.
There you go. There you go. So this is a very cool. I love the way they pulled this movie off. And I keep saying movie. It is a movie, but it's a mini series. It's 2 episodes made into one big movie. You know, it kind of flip flops between 2 timelines. You know, from the 1960s, and then you got the adult versions of everybody, which was actually in 1990. And they're in this fictional town, which Stephen King loved to use fictional towns, specifically in Maine. He didn't like to go anywhere else in the United States. He always used Maine, I feel like, but Derry, Maine was kind of synonymous to Stephen King. But yeah, like the movie kind of starts off. We're not going to go scene by scene, but you know, kind of some of the iconic scenes that strike with me is, you already mentioned it, was Georgie going out with this paper boat, and that's kind of when you're first met with this group of kids is met with Pennywise, and he gets his. You don't see it because it's not rated R, but Georgie gets his arm ripped off and he bleeds to death and he dies. That's the first death that we see. Well, I guess the second death that we see. We see the little girl at the very beginning. But that's the first iconic scene. And as you said, that's the one. Hiya, Georgie.
Right.
They all float. That's goes right back to it every single time. What are some of your favorite scenes that you remember from the movie?
So one of my, and it's kind of a darker scene, but when I think it's probably like 2/3 of the way through, they're in they're underground, and adult Bill sees Georgie, and it's obviously not Georgie, it's Pennywise.
Yeah.
And he's speaking with him, and they're like, it's not Georgie, Bill, it's not Georgie. And he's just having that struggle. I know it's sad, but it's like one of those kind of turning points in the movie where that scene just always kind of pulled me into, like, because, everybody has those internal struggles, and stuff. So like this was kind of his internal struggle and breakthrough. So.
Yep. Yeah. Well, what did you think of the? So I love the movie as a whole, but especially now as an adult rewatching it, and I've rewatched it many times as an adult. So this wasn't the first time I've seen it as an adult, but the build up to what was a very intense movie. And I'm haunting I'm your worst dream come true. I'm gonna kill you all, and this whole thing, and it all building up to the final battle. And what it was a very anticlimactic, not very well done, like alien looking thing at the very end. Like I wasn't a fan, and then literally the way that they beat Pennywise was just basically shooting him with a slingshot and pushing him over.
Yeah.
That's all they did. After 27 years of being haunted and people get dying, and you just push him over and that's it.
You spent $12 million on this movie. Spend an extra $500,000 to make it cool.
Yeah, make it cool. Like, yeah, I don't know. It was everything about it was phenomenal. The ending was the final form, I guess you could say. Pennywise's final form was not up to where it needed to be, in my opinion.
I agree.
So I mean, the whole, getting the band back together as adults, I like that. The camaraderie that everybody has, and not, because it kind of brings you back to you and I. We're older now. We're in our 30s. We're in our 40s. And you start getting your friend group back together, and you start to realize that, man, a lot of time has passed. A lot, you may not have seen or kept in touch with a lot of the people that you were that you did as kids.
Yeah.
And you start realizing, like, man, when was the last time I saw my next door neighbor that I grew up with? Or when's the guy down the street that we used to hang out every single weekend? When's the last time I talked to him? And so that was cool to see the build of getting everybody back together, getting the band back together, I guess.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So especially in movies when they like kind of bring them together, and it's always good.
What was if you had to pick, it's hard to do because we're adults now, but what would you say is the scariest moment or scene in the movie?
I would say, I mean, for me, like, honestly, the opening scene with the little girl.
Yeah.
Like, when you don't know what's going on, you're very first watching this movie, there's a Pennywise, all this other stuff, but it's just so, like, it's kind of like one of those scary movies where there's a sound, but you pan over and there's nothing there. And it's just kind of like, it's a haunting kind of feeling. I actually think that's what the scariest, other than the psychological stuff, that was probably, for me, the scariest.
Yeah. Now that's a fantastic pick. I mean, and it sets the movie up too perfectly. Like, it's the first thing you see is that the mom comes out. Yeah.
The laundry's hanging. The tricycle is on its side with the wheel spinning. The mom comes out freaking out. It just, that whole thing.
Yeah. I have two, and I'm going to go with my second scariest, and then my first one I'll tell you in a minute. But the second was when they were all I think they were out in the woods as kids, and they were looking through the book, and it was a black and white book, and all of a sudden it starts animating.
Yeah.
And the picture starts moving around, and then you don't know what's happening because all you're doing is seeing cars and bicycles and people walking around. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you see Pennywise start off as a little tiny character and then rushes really fast to the screen, and then he's full screen. And that
was great.
Freaked me out as a kid. Right. And was, because you immediately get goosebumps because he's coming, and and then my all time, and it still gave me chills just watching it, was when Bev goes back to her old home as an adult, and that old lady's in there, or what we think is an old lady. It's been Pennywise the whole time, but she goes in and she gets a cup of tea, and she's drinking the tea, and then her teeth start to turn yellow, and she looks down at the teacup, and the cup is completely full of blood, and she drops the blood, and the old lady saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll get it." And then she looks up, and she turns into the corpse of her dead father. And her father, basically, as a zombie corpse, whatever, chases her out of the house. But before she does, grabs their arm. And like that whole scene, like of being chased out the door and getting caught, chills.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good scenes.
Yeah, they did a good job of everything. Was a little different, right? Like Richie's afraid of werewolves, so Pennywise always took the form of a werewolf with Richie, You know, what was Eddie's fear? I know he had the
Oh,
the asthma or the it's just
yeah, because he
water.
called him
It's all
Weezer
on your head. It's all
or
on your head.
Wheezy.
Yeah. But he'd always take the form of their biggest fear.
Mhm.
So, did you write down any? I mean, obviously, there's just two or three of the iconic quotes. Did you write down
The quotes,
any of your favorite quotes?
of course, the one that you've been saying is the first one I wrote down. They float, Georgie. They float, and when you're down here with me, you float too. Um, and then, like you
Yep.
said, I'm every nightmare you ever had. I'm your worst dream come true. I'm everything you were ever afraid of. Um, let me think. One I just wrote down. Here I am, Wheezy, because
I'm easy.
the asthma. That I had to write that one down. Yeah, that's about all I wrote down.
I had just a couple added on to that.
No, I had
Go ahead.
you first. We'll see if you got the
Sure.
one I have.
I had beep beep Richie was the one I wrote down, and the other one was he always called Ben Fat Boy. Come on, Fat Boy, give me a kiss, Fat Boy.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
That's all I had.
So here's the one that I thought you would. Here's the one I thought you might have said or wrote down. Let go. Be afraid. You all taste much better when you're afraid.
Yeah, that's a fantastic quote, and it sums up the whole movie. Because if you're not scared, then he's not there, right? Like every time they said you're not real, you're not there, you're not real, he would disappear. So, yeah, it's wild, man, and so popular this movie was that they ended up making a remake and a chapter 2 from 2017 and 2019 they released. And I'm going to say that based on your original recast that you have not seen the 2 remakes.
I actually have.
You have?
What does that say about me? Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I loved it, man.
Okay,
go ahead.
Okay, listen. This was back when the guy I wrote down originally, he wasn't as popular as he is now. So his name really didn't register with me back then when I watched these.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, who would be that? Oh, that guy's perfect. Oh, well, the reason is because he already did it.
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, "That's wild." I was like, "You can't." I was like,
Josh is like, yeah. Josh is like, Brian, are you drinking whiskey again?
I love the remake, man.
Yes.
It was great because it was rated R. They gave much more creative freedom. It was a much scarier, much more gory. Again, I'm not saying I like gory movies, but it gave it. And if you noticed, there was, and I haven't seen the remake in a while. Honestly, I think I've only seen it once in theaters. But there was a scene, and I think it was in the attic or somewhere in the house where they're going past a bunch of clown dolls, and one of the clown dolls was exactly Tim Curry's face in complete Pennywise makeup. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep. Great throwback. I've seen both. I believe the first one we watched at home. The second one we actually went to the drive-in.
Oh, nice. God, I haven't been to a drive-in in forever.
Yeah.
Is there one around here that's still
dark movie to watch at a drive-in?
Yeah. Is there still one around here that plays movies?
The Boulevard Drive-In? Yes.
All right, Boulevard Drive-In. I'll have to write that down.
It's more like I-30 I-35 in Lamar, you get off there and you go down Merriam Drive about half a mile.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if it was chapter 1 or chapter 2 of the remake. I think it was the child version of Ben in the original popped up as like a businessman or something in the remake.
Mm-hmm.
And he was hard to catch because you had to have been a pretty big fan of the original to really notice. But I remember seeing it and I'm like, man, that man, at this point, a man, right? I was like, he looks so familiar. And then sure enough, he was the younger Ben in the original. So it was pretty cool they brought him back.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It was good.
you know,
I loved the remake.
yeah. So with that said, did you prefer Tim Curry's Pennywise or Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise?
I gotta go Curry.
The OG?
Just have to.
Yeah. You know why it's Tim Curry? Because without Tim Curry's Pennywise, there is no Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise.
Yep. Without Tim Curry, the movie wouldn't have done as well, and they wouldn't have made remakes.
No. Yeah, I 1,000% agree. You booked, or you book. I got wrestling on my mind. You put anybody else in that role at the time in 1990,
Mhm.
you're probably not getting anywhere near the notoriety as it did.
Right. And I'm not saying Bill Skarsgård did a bad job. He did a great job.
Great.
But without Tim Curry, it just wouldn't have worked.
Yep. Agreed. So, yeah, this movie, before we get into the retro recast, man, like we already kind of talked about it. This kind of became the gateway horror film for 90s kids, me specifically. Tim Curry did phenomenal. He was one of probably the most recognizable character performance. He did great. And basically, this movie kind of paved the way for kind of more serious, big budget TV budget horror movies, honestly. So, did you ever watch The Stand or Rose Red?
The Stand.
The Stand? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I mean, at least my opinion is this movie kind of set the pathway for The Stand, Red Rose, things like that.
Oh, it did.
That kind of came out a little bit later. So, but man, what a movie. What a film.
It was a good one.
What a mini series. Anything else you want to bring up between Pennywise or It before we move on?
I don't think so.
All right. So, let's move on then. Before we do the retro recast, I did want to bring up one final stat from It, that it was nominated for 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, including Best Music and Best Makeup. So pretty cool. Pretty cool for that.
Definitely.
All right, let's do this, guys. Let me get over to my screen.
So you know they wouldn't have given it to him for visual effects. They were not great.
Yeah, no, you especially not the ending scene.
They wouldn't have won for that.
No. Music was phenomenal though. Like I was watching, and even after I rewatched it, I started looking up clips for the promos. And did you see those promos on TikTok I posted?
Yes.
Even in those short clips, like the music in the background was just so well done. It was great.
It really was.
So, let's move on here. Let's get to our favorite segment each and every week, and that is the Retro Recast.
Idiot! Wrestling's not fake!
Run, Forrest, run! Run, Forrest!
I'll be back.
Hey, Gary, check it out. It's the Retro Recast.
That's right. Here we are, Retro Recast time. Who would you cast in each of these roles if the movie was made today? Bonus points if you don't use anybody from the 2017 remake. Pennywise the Clown, Bill and Beverly, both adult and children. We're looking for 5 different roles here to cast as the Retro Recast. So I do not have. Now I know my sister did make her picks. She did it much earlier in the week. She did not put them in a group. So I don't actually have a screenshot of her picks this week. So unfortunately, we are not going to have to feature anybody's picks. It's going to be you and I's only. Back to the OG vintage report or Retro Recast. It's just you and I. So.
Well, I can already tell you, I did not get bonus points.
You did. You got your bonus points. I corrected it, so we're good. Or you corrected it, I guess.
I did correct it, yes.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go first since you went first last time. So my Retro Recast, and you're gonna probably scratch your head a little bit on my pick for Pennywise.
Maybe.
But I did it solely based on facial expressions. Okay. And my Pennywise is none other than Jim Carrey. I did not spell Carrey correctly, so that's phenomenal. However, I think he would nail it. He did the Grinch very well, and I think he would do a very good job as Pennywise just based on facial expressions.
Yeah.
However, I asked you if Tim Curry could be taken seriously. I don't know if Jim Carrey would be able to be taken seriously as a killer clown. Nonetheless.
I think that makes perfect sense. Like, that's a great pick.
I think it would be too, honestly. I do. So Bill, the adult Bill. So I went with John Krasinski, known from The Office. That can do it very well. Bill, and the children are a little bit older than I would have liked. I don't really know that many child actors. However, Ian Armitage, I can't remember. He played young Sheldon, so he could be the young version of Krasinski. And then Beverly, I picked Sarah Wayne Callis, known for Prison Break and The Walking Dead, and then her younger self, Sadie Sink. Again, both children are a little bit older. I think they're like in their 20s now.
Yeah,
but if they could play down to like a teenage, like a mid-teen, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, then that'd be all right. But
yeah,
that's my Retro Recast. So
excellent, good job. I'm really still impressed with Pennywise.
Well, appreciate it. So let's take a look here. So you pull yours up?
Yes.
All right.
So I went Pennywise. I went with Jake Gyllenhaal, just because it's not a role that he's not done a role like this before. You know, he's been serious. He's done some rom-coms, but it'd be good to see him in a Pennywise role where he's got to be like, I mean, like scary but funny, you know, and like,
yep.
I would love to see him in that role. So that's who I picked for him. I picked Adam Driver for adult Bill, just because he kind of has that look with the swoopy hair. Is one of originally why I thought of it, but I'm like, you know, we see him as in Star Wars, and so you see him all big and bad and tough, and yeah, he has his moments there where he's emotional, but like this, I think would be a great emotional role for him. And then Simon Webster, I picked because, like you, I don't know many child actors,
Yeah.
and I know for a fact though that he is in the Chucky series. So I figure he's used to doing horror. He can do this too.
Yep.
I don't know. Selena Gomez I picked just because I mean she's about the same age range as Adam. I thought that they would pair well together in the movie, and she's pretty dynamic in all that she does. And Abby Fortson, um, I I pull a lot of people from the MCU, and she is the daughter of Ant-Man. So I'm like, she would be a good for that role.
I love it, man. I really like Adam Driver as Bill. That was a great pick. Great
was-
pick. And you had Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise,
I did.
forgetting that he was Pennywise. And no, that's great because, like you said, he did phenomenal as Pennywise. So
Yeah, it just like I said, he wasn't that well known, and so I'm thinking I didn't even know, like, because you can't tell with the makeup. I just no idea.
yeah,
So
yep.
yeah. But Adam Driver was actually the first person that I cast because he just seemed perfect for the role.
It was great. I love that one. Absolutely. All right. We do have a couple comments here. Wonder if Jake Gyllenhaal could pull off that smile. I'm sure he could probably perfect it. Give him some practice. And Autumn says, love Adam Driver. So, all right. Phenomenal pick, man. So if you guys, that's our retro recast. If you want to come in and be part of that, get your picks in. We will feature it here every week on Retro Recast on Nostalgia Mania. So you can comment on our social medias or comment live here on our live chat. We got a couple of viewers here. So yes, Darnie, Autumn remembers Jake and Donnie Darko.
Yes.
Since it's spooky season, Brian J., we're going to do something a little bit different. I have not told you that we're doing this. It is a impromptu segment. I'm sure you've seen on the TikToks where people but they rank different categories blindly without knowing what's coming next.
Okay.
We're going to do that tonight. And you're going to rank from 1 to 5, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst of this, and you're going to rank these horror movies, specifically. If I can speak, you're going to rank these horror characters 1 to 5 without knowing what comes next.
Okay.
So
I'm ready.
You ready? All right. So
I
first
hope
off,
so.
the first horror character, we're going to go with what we just talked about, Pennywise.
3.
Right in the middle. Right in the middle. Okay. I like it. All right. So you got number 3 off the board. We're going to go. The second one is Jason Voorhees.
I'm going to get crap for this probably, but I'm going 4.
Ranking Jason. Not a fan of Jason, huh?
He's all right.
All right.
There's better.
All right. How about Freddy Krueger?
2.
Number 2. All right. Freddy is number 2, so you've got 1 in 5 remaining.
Yes, I do.
We're going. The 4th selection here is John Kramer, who is the mastermind in Saw.
5.
Number 5. All right.
Yep.
All right. And your final, which is your number 1 in this list, is Chucky.
Had I known that, he wouldn't be number 1.
Chucky is number 1.
Yeah.
So
I don't know who I thought you were going to bring out with the last two, but
yep. So number 1's Chucky, 2's Freddy, 3's Pennywise, 4 Jason Voorhees, and number 5 John Kramer. So just a fun little segment. We might pull that out every once in a while. Maybe take a look at the categories that we're looking at. Maybe a comedy, movies, maybe video games,
Yeah.
maybe. So
maybe I do this. Maybe I do this with you next week.
there you go. All right, we'll take turns doing it. So I was waiting for Chucky.
Yeah, I would have put him at 5 too.
Never know, man. Never know. You might get a
Nope.
Clear number 1 at the last one, or you might get a dumpster one. So Broderick Hall is here.
Now
Look
he
at
needs to turn your picks in, Brody.
Right at the exact 1 hour mark, and we're getting ready to close out of here. So appreciate you, Brody. So with that being said, Brian J., why don't you tell everybody before we close out, where can everybody find you on social media?
On social medias, as it says in my description, you can find me here on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right. And to follow the show, you guys all know where to find us. We're at JSC Studios or JSC Studios 816 or Nostalgia Mania. Go find us, like us, share us. We're on TikTok. We post clips multiple times a week. We post the Retro Recast, the Vintage Report, the 4 Horsemen, which is coming up in a couple weeks. Lots of fun stuff coming up. So with that being said, that is episode 52. We have officially been here 1 year. No special big celebration, but I think we will eventually. And we were supposed to do it last week. Things got busy. We did a bonus episode. We're going to do a retrospective of the past episodes, some video. We're going to get back to video games a little bit with some of our bonus content. So we just got to find the time to actually sit down and do it.
But we may think about doing that towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Just do the retrospective, and then that'll just be our yearly thing.
There you go. I like that. I like that idea. So, okay. With that being said, this is episode 52 of Nostalgia Mania. I am your host, the real Josh Elliott. This is Brian J. Baby. We'll see you guys next week for Beetlejuice. Can't wait to recast that one. That's gonna be fun. Yeah, don't say his name 3 times. We're gonna have lots of trouble. So we've already said it twice, so that is enough. We'll see you guys next week.